Ladies and gentlemen, this is Gail Morgan welcoming Libertarian Counterpoint's Nest. You've heard point, now listen to the counterpoint.
Welcome to the Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. We are coming at you on August 11th, 2021. As always, plenty to talk about in a Biden administration. The news never ends. But before we get into that, let me introduce you to our panel. In our upper right-hand corner, we have Leon, the word Brathwaite, last word in Liberty. He is a retired engineer in the state of California. In our lower right-hand corner, we have our screaming eagle of freedom, Tim Everett. He is a pilot in the state of California. And in our lower left-hand corner, we have a special guest today. He is Matt Knoedler from caucusroom.com. And he is also a former legislator as well in the state of Colorado. So we'll love to pick his brain today, too, on some of these issues.
Jason, I must say that Matt will tell you, probably he's too kind a person to tell you what I am not. You just look at his name.
I did. Okay.
Yeah, you know what? I mean,
I used to butcher Leon's name all the time.
Yes. Personal experience speaking here. That's right.
Just think how much we need Matt Knoedler. We need him really bad. Okay.
Sorry about that, Matt. Feel free to correct me. Okay.
Tim, when I ran for the legislature, the artist who did the little yard sign, he showed it to me. I was like, "Oh, it looks nice." He's like, "No, but do you see there was a little line in between the name, and it was." He said, "See, it's shaped like a needle," and I was like. Don't think I need the needle that badly, but okay.
That's funny.
Well, as far as unforgettable names go, Cuomo is in the news recently, and he's going to be hard to forget for a while.
Yes.
Everything is just blowing up on him and his brother over at CNN as well.
Yes.
So, it's the wheels are just coming off the Cuomo train over there in New York, and it certainly has a lot of mismanagement going on in New York as well as in California and some of these other places. But finally, things have come apart, and he has resigned. So as of yesterday, he has stepped down from office. He is apparently going to hang around for 2 weeks, though. So it's interesting to figure out why he's doing that. But I guess I'll let you guys speculate on that. But it's sexual harassment on top of a lot of other mismanagement. But the sexual harassment is really the thing that lit the fire, and it's a Democrat-run state. So that's what drove this. So you guys have any thoughts on this?
You know what is going to be very interesting about this as we go forward is how the media is going to cover this. Because there are two angles. Of course, Andrew Cuomo is going to resign as governor. And then the other angle is what's going to happen to his brother at CNN, who was helping him respond to the sexual harassment allegations. But if you remember, during the pandemic, this was Jesus Christ for us, okay? He was handling his COVID response so well. He was on TV every day telling us all these great, wonderful things he was doing in New York. But come to find out that this man and his mandates end up killing 15,000 people in nursing homes, including Janice Dean's in-laws. Our illustrious president yesterday said,
and just for the viewers too, Janice Dean is a Fox Weather Channel person?
Yes, chief meteorologist at Fox News.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yesterday, after he announced his resignation, our illustrious president, Joe Biden, said, he did a great job. He did a great job except for his personal behavior. Oh, really? 15,000 people are dead because of this man, and he did a great job? We must be living on the moon someplace. You must be on another planet. Probably that's where Joe Biden is in his half-senile mind.
Go ahead, Matt.
I work for governor. I was a policy advisor to him, and it's an extraordinarily powerful position. I don't think you have the power of the pardon, which is one of the reasons a governor walks around with a security detail, but not a senator or a congressman. You have the power to, as we all know, apparently they have extraordinary powers we didn't even knew existed before this lockdown, apparently. But I don't know why he wants that for 2 more weeks, but I certainly am suspicious about that. And what can he put in? And one more thought on that is just the nursing homes are typically funded by there's a lot of federal funding involved, Medicare, Medicaid, and so that shoe cannot it has not fully dropped yet. I think there's a lot more there in terms of actual federal fraud that it would appear that he personally has some liability within, and I do hope that's prosecuted. But again, governors are so powerful. If I was New York, I would not accept 2 weeks. I would say, it's now, or the legislature is going to, convene on tomorrow and boot you so that you can't pardon yourself from something.
No. So do you think that this whole 2 week thing that I think he's actually going to step down on August 24th is what was said. So do you think he's trying to do what? Pardon himself in the interim?
I don't know. I'm not sure we could put anything past him. Given the speech yesterday, he did not seem to express any guilt. Right. But there are a lot of favors that can be doled out, or as long as you've got the power of the state seal and you can press that state seal down on a piece of paper, it gives a lot of authority to things you can do. So I don't know what he would do. I don't know enough about New York politics, but it certainly have. By the way, from now on can we call him Emmy award-winning New York governor?
Emmy award-winning and Italian stud.
Yeah. Everybody wants to be a Cuomo sexual, at least as of a few months ago. Anyway.
I couldn't figure him out though, because he was simultaneously admitting guilt and then giving a reason for it, and denying guilt, admitting guilt, and giving the reason. Okay, I didn't sexually abuse those, but if I did, it was because I was Italian.
Yeah,
and we all know how out of control we Italians are. When it comes to the bedroom.
I hug and kiss everyone. Okay, I hug and kiss everyone. So he said all these photos of him kissing women, kissing men, kissing everybody. Oh, really? Yeah. Please keep your hands to yourself. Don't kiss me.
He's just showing affection, Leon. Come on.
Well, that's the funny thing. For this Emmy Award winner, the first thing he does in his defense is to try and make another movie about himself, essentially going around and doing almost what he's being accused of, running around touching everybody. But apparently the touching was a little bit more than what he was showing in his little Hollywood video there. But it does raise a really good question though about the idea that state pardon power, in some ways, it's a lot more powerful for him than when people were worried about Trump potentially pardoning himself, because Trump can only pardon himself for federal crimes, right? So, somebody could still charge him with a state crime, and some states were actually gearing up to do that. But, Cuomo is really, these are mostly state crimes, I guess. So he could really pardon himself for a lot of this, or make deals to avoid problems. And Biden's already eliminated the investigation that was going into him, right?
Exactly. Yes, the nursing home investigations. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
So cover up. Well, that brings us into another topic we wanted to talk about on the show today, and that is some of the crazy stuff that was going on in the CHOP zone in Seattle. And I'm going to try to, let's see, I don't have those visuals up, so that's okay. But if you remember on the CHOP zone, that was something where in Seattle, there was about a 6-block area that was taken over literally by protesters. And this was happening during the summer of 2020. Mayor Jenny Durkin self-described it as a summer of love. When she let 6 blocks be taken over and a police precinct be overrun in that area. And so they let the protesters have the zone for about, I guess it was I don't know, somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 or 4 weeks, I think it was. I can't remember the exact amount of time. But during that time, during that summer of love, people who had property there, they couldn't get police service, fire service, any of that stuff, because it was all blocked off by sort of a gang of thugs with guns.
Yes.
And
Yes.
described themselves as the new police. And eventually those people wind up shooting a few people within this chop zone. And a few people died, and now there are lawsuits abound that are happening. The Seattle Times has had a public records request for Seattle to try and get some of these communications that were going on between the leaders. The family, I believe, of one of the shooting victims is also coming after the city for some of these records. And the city has just said, we've lost the records. We set these things to expire in 30 days on the phones, even though that was illegal, and we don't know what happened, but we just don't have, we've lost a lot of the communications between these leaders. At what point is this just like a criminal gang of thugs that's running this place? I mean, they literally take away people's property rights. People who paid for police protection don't get it. And, it's, hey, we don't even have any records now of what happened. Sorry. You guys have any thoughts on that?
Well, I do, if I can interrupt. I know where those records can be found, and talk about a gang of thugs. But, there's 4 states providing water to cool the servers, the gigantic, enormous computers controlled by the National Security Administration. So the NSA has been, from what people tell me, like one person named Ed Snowden, for example, they save all the metadata on everybody's text. So if they, if they're missing these texts, the first place I'd look would be the NSA. I'd say, come on, guys, this is your time to shine bright for all of us Americans who have had their privacy completely annihilated by you guys. Come on, cough them up. Let's have these texts. We know you've got them, okay? Anyway.
I'd say one of the things they were pushing for around the country, the protesters, was to make police officers liable, more personally liable for their actions. It would seem like all of government is liable for that, for the negligence that Jason just described. I mean, I personally believe police officers need more of that liability protection. Otherwise, they won't be. They will be too scared to make the tough call when they have to make the tough call to do something. And it's probably a reason we're seeing crime increase, in my opinion. But just set that aside. Even accept all of the arguments from the other side. Then, by definition, you should also make the elected officials who are making really bad decisions liable for their really bad decisions as well, or for their negligence and losing evidence on something like that. If of all people, the only people in government are personally liable for their bad decisions are police officers, then something's really wrong.
But the angle to this that I see here is this disturbing pattern that we have seen throughout the years, where if the IRS decides to audit me, and they say, well, Leon produced this record, or record number 1, record number 2, record number 3, and I say, oops, I accidentally lost that. I wonder how far they will lose my behind in jail. How far you think? But yet, over and over, government officials keep accidentally, inadvertently misplacing records and losing them, and nothing ever happened to them. We had a major scandal during the Obama administration involving the IRS, by the way, and some of the people who were in charge at the time, and they accidentally misplaced some records, and up to now, it have never been resolved. Nobody went to prison. Everybody is fine. Some people are retired, and everything is good and wonderful. But government officials always get away with these sort of things, and they are not held accountable. But the private citizen, whenever they're dealing with the government, if it's a subpoenaed record and we lose it, oh my goodness gracious, we have to go find a lawyer to defend ourselves to keep our behinds out of jail. Something is wrong with that picture. The government is becoming too powerful. They're becoming so powerful that they don't have to care about the law anymore. That is a big danger to us. Seriously.
Yeah, well, and one of the points you guys had talked about on one of the previous shows as well was this qualified immunity deal, and
Yes.
Matt, you were kind of touching on that as well. And it's funny with police, they do have a very tough job, like you were saying. But the idea that, like you're saying, that would be limited to just police, actually, that may be the libertarian solution, is to have qualified immunity for a much larger spectrum of government, end qualified immunity rather, because once you do that, then I think once people say, you say, well, you're responsible for, section A of paragraph C of whatever it is, of some 3,000 page document. And then they say, well, I don't know that. Then all of a sudden it makes everybody realize, hey, look, things have gotten pretty complicated when the people who are supposed to be responsible are clearly not responsible. and maybe that's actually the route to get to some of this reduction of the size of government, when everybody starts admitting that it's government's gotten too big and complicated, that nobody really wants to be responsible for it. No.
You're being too big, yes, but it's not too complicated is the issue, Jason, quite frankly. It's too big and too powerful. And their power right now is destroying our freedom and our liberties. That's a problem. That's a very, very big problem.
Well, I would wager, as somebody who I guess does work in government, I know you've worked in government too, Leon, those codes get awfully complicated really fast. And I've talked with certain people who are supposed to be responsible in cases, and you ask them about a special provision, and like they literally may not know about it, right? And so it's like the first they've heard, and that's the person who's supposed to be responsible. I think that's part of the problem that we have with so many people liking big government, is because they just assume, they just have faith that this government is out there looking over their shoulder and they totally know what's going on. And I think the reality is that most people will be shocked to realize how much isn't really, known. I mean, how many little details have fallen through the cracks, especially over time, when one program starts and then it lasts for generations, and the people who originally wrote it are gone, and it's been amended so many times. So it's just, yeah.
Well, I will accept your point. I will accept your point that the complication does provide, it does make for some serious problems for private individuals. But those complications, though, will leave us in a situation where a private citizen may be breaking the law just because of those complications. A private citizen may be breaking the law without even knowing it, without even intending to, but will be breaking the law without even trying. That to me is a big problem, and that is where our liberties and our freedoms become in jeopardy. Maybe we can meet halfway here on this issue. The complications is causing that problem, that phenomenon to occur, where our freedom and liberties are more impacted because of these complications.
Well, one place that's not complicated and literally government has just gone off the rails and doing something that's been clearly spelled out by the courts is in this eviction moratorium. We talked about it last week briefly, but it's such a big story, especially with regard to property rights, that I wanted to touch upon this day, especially since we have a guest who's worked in government as well here. And the idea that Biden has literally been given instructions by the Supreme Court, and he literally said before a few days before telling the CDC to go ahead with more eviction moratorium, he literally said he didn't think he had the constitutional authority to do it. And then the Supreme Court spelled it out to him. They said, no, you don't. You need to go back to the legislature and do this. And I guess he figures, since the Supreme Court doesn't have F-15s and nukes, that he doesn't have to listen to them. What do you guys think about that?
Oh man, I don't think it's unprecedented. I'll put it that way. I mean, I do think a lot of presidents, frankly, on both sides of the aisle, but particularly, some of the actions that President Obama took on immigration policy were beyond anything that was in written law. Supreme, a number of courts have already weighed in on that, and he kind of even expressed it or accepted that he knew that at the time when he did them. and certainly this one is just blatant because the Supreme Court had just said it. I am really hopeful, and actually a little bit optimistic that at least like Elena Kagan might side with the conservatives on the court and slap him down for this. But I wouldn't even be surprised. I would hope to see a unanimous and almost immediate decision. However, I'm not a lawyer. I don't actually know how that exactly works, but I certainly am love watching the Supreme Court do its thing. And I do believe that they will rule really strongly on this in a way that maybe Biden will regret, because instead of pushing into those gray zones like Obama did, or maybe previous Republican presidents as well did, they're gonna I suspect paint a much brighter line after this decision.
Yeah, I certainly. Oh, I'm sorry, Liam, but not much of it. I certainly hope that's correct, Matt. Reading from one of these articles, one sentence says, "Does anyone really believe the founders would approve of the CDC retroactively ripping up millions of legal contracts and unilaterally suspending the property rights of 90% of landlords?" Question. If it can do that, what can't it do?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Go ahead, Leon.
No. You made a point. You made a point in that statement, because to me there are two issues here. One is taken, right, and it's forbidden in the Constitution. So, Matt, I am not a lawyer, but I play one on TV. Okay?
You slept at a Holiday Inn Express last night, right? Yeah.
That's right. There you go. There you go. So it's the taken clause, and on top of that, the issue of property of property rights. So how could this be anywhere close to being constitutional? There's absolutely nothing in the Constitution that allows the government to just unilaterally tell people that the obligations of contracts are no longer valid. This is unbelievable and probably unprecedented.
I can't top that, but I just want to add, it's just really bad policy too. I'm here in Golden, Colorado, and every single restaurant on our main street here in town has a help wanted sign on it.
Right.
And if you don't have to pay rent for your apartment, then there's one more thing you don't have to do to go get, you don't need to go get a job for. And so there's a desperate need out there for hiring. And frankly, I know one coffee shop owner here in town told me that he has to close 4 hours early every day because he can't find enough workers. So that's real money. That's going to really hurt the economy. And so this is a bad economic policy, let alone the fact that it is wildly unconstitutional.
You're right. There you go. Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair
exactly. Enough. Yeah. Good point.
Yeah. There is a podcast that I listen to sometimes, and they kind of opined about this a little bit. It's called Law Talk from the Hoover Institute, and I believe what I was hearing from them is that that's I guess Epstein and you are the two law professors on that. But I believe what they were saying is that the lower courts could potentially go around and put some kind of stay on the government's order here while this is being adjudicated. So, I mean, because what Biden was trying to say is sort of an end around, saying, well, it's going to take them a long time to get back to the Supreme Court, so I'll just do this now and we'll get the few months that I want out of it. But, I guess maybe it is possible that there is some power within the courts to actually stop this in short order. So we'll see what happens in the coming.
Well, they could issue a stay on the order from the CDC. They could do that, which would be great, and I think they should. But Joe Biden already said that, we could always we could keep this going because we can always appeal. Look at what he's trying to do, right? He's just going to appeal, and hopefully it will keep going that way. A sort of backdoor way to get it done. But if the courts issue a stay, well, then it will be great, and then that avenue will be closed off for him.
Well, can I just add? Think of the long-term implications of how the Supreme Court's rejection of this will be used. I believe I won't quote it, but I know there is case law that gives that increasingly gave administrations more and more power over the essentially legislative power, right? Like they let them interpret laws in really more broad ways, and
Yes.
there's this legacy. But I know that there are Supreme Court justices, particularly those recently nominated by President Trump, that really want to clamp down on this, and so this is their choice, right? This is their this is their chance, pardon me, to really finally fight the administrative state and the growth of the administrative state. So I hope they do the right thing and rule as strictly as they possibly can.
Okay.
Indeed.
Are getting to that point in the show where we're getting close to the end, and that's the sound of our Knucklehead noise control. So one of the things we like to do is go over something kind of funny that somebody said, or something outrageous that somebody said, either in politics or the media. And so one of those is things that we just came across is that the BBC recently seems to be pondering whether or not porn should be taught to children. I actually had a graphic. I don't know, James, if you could bring that up or not. Yeah. And so this is the BBC. We're not making this up. Now, this is an older article. This is from 2012. But recently what happened is a Sunday Times contributor, journalist Flora Gill, tweeted, "Somebody needs to create porn for children. Hear me out. Young teens are already watching porn, but they're finding hardcore aggressive videos that give a terrible view of sex. They need entry-level porn, a softcore site where everyone asks for consent and no one gets choked." And just to say that this isn't just one crazy thing from the BBC, because this came out earlier, and that's why I was trying to show this article from 2012. They had the same idea back then. It's just resurfacing. And so back in this article, somebody named Dame Jenny Murray was talking about porn in the classroom. It says, why not show kids pornography and teach them how to analyze it? You put boys and girls together in a class, you show them a pornographic film, and you analyze it exactly the same way as you teach them to read all other cultures around them. It's just, I guess I can't think of a better case for school choice.
Really? Seriously?
What do you guys think about that?
Well, okay. This one. First of all, this is in Britain, correct? I mean, these people that we're talking about. Okay, so these aren't Americans.
But we have cases of that here in the United States too.
Yeah. So
and that's publicly funded there too. That BBC. So
Oh, there you go. Oh, of course. So you've got the point is that just like maybe drugs. Okay, these young kids are going to be introduced to drugs at a young age, so we might as well make marijuana legal so that at least it's a fairly benign drug they first get introduced or some such thing as like that. I don't know. The thing is, they're going to be they're going to have access to all kinds of this, this choking porn they're worried about. And
just remove the choking and it's great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. This is crazy. I got to let somebody else do this. I'm
Anybody have a real quick shot at this?
Well, I'll say this, okay? These people are sick, okay? They are sick. They won't teach reading. They won't teach writing. They won't teach arithmetic. But they think the best thing to teach our children, just show them some porn and everything will be good and wonderful in the world. These people are sick.
Well, with that said, with all the discussion of choking, we've about choked off the time for our show. So we're good at that point. But thanks so much. And thanks to our guest today, too, Matt Needler. Matt Needler.
Get it right, Jason. Get it right.
Yes, check it out. It's a great website and a great way to stay in contact with people, with similar political ideas in your neighborhood. So until the next show, hope you join us then. Stay free.